What's up everyone, my name is Andrew and today we're going to be looking at the new and improved Zen Dac V2 by iFi. Despite the naming they chose here, this isn't just a DAC, it also has an amp inside of it and a pretty good one at that. More on that later. As a bit of background, this is a refreshed version of the original iFi Zen Dac which came out a few years ago and was met with much fanfare. It retailed at $129 and was extremely popular and highly recommended for people looking for an all-in-one solution for budget audiophiles just getting started. And so now this is the refresh version and this is being sold at $159, so a bit of a price hike, but is it still the best option for those who want a DAC AMP combo or for those who are just starting out into the hi-fi world? iFi was generous enough to send this unit out for me, but they in no way are influencing this review, and I will be giving my full opinions on what I like, what I dislike, and who I think this is for. In the box, iFi provides a set of RCA cables, which is a nice surprise, but one that's quickly overshadowed when you realize they don't include a power block, and also the cable, the data cable, is extremely short. I've seen some debates online about how much the power block actually impacts things, whether running just the data cable to power your amp DAC is fine, and in my opinion, I didn't notice too much of a difference when I switched to a power block. I got roughly the same experience. I definitely wouldn't be able to tell when I'm plugged in or when I'm not to a wall unit or to my desktop. I do have a full-fledged desktop, and maybe if you're using a laptop or something else, you will get a different experience. But my opinion and the opinion of many others is that with just the data cable alone, it's fine and you get plenty of power. I do really have to knock iFi on this cable though. Because my desktop sits under my desk, this cable is basically unusable, as if I run it through the back of my desk, it won't even make it to the top of my desk. And then the unit would have to be absurdly far away, or honestly, I just don't think I can do it. So when I used a different cable for a while, I ended up getting rid of that cable because it came with something else that I sold. But now I'm stuck with this, and I had to just plug it in to the front of my desktop and just set up a makeshift stand in order to actually use this cable to drive the amp. So I really think they should just upgrade the cable, even if they swap the RCA cables for one that was for this cable to be a few feet longer. I think that would be a good trade-off that would benefit a lot of people. But of course, if you have a laptop on your desk or just an all-in-one unit or even your desktop just sitting on your desk, it probably won't make that big of a difference. So this is going to really depend on you. The build quality on the Zen Dac V2 is very impressive. And I know the build quality is roughly the same as the original, which at $129 was an absolute steal. Like there's no way you're going to get that kind of build quality anywhere else. And even at $159, I think the build is still better than expected. And nothing here feels cheap. Everything's very premium. I like the aesthetic, how it's not just a simple box, but I guess that'll vary person to person. Some people might just think it looks weird. I think it looks kind of cool. And the buttons are pretty premium. I like the finish as well. Another thing you're going to notice is that this actually has two outputs, a 6.3 unbalanced and a 4.4 balanced. And with any $200 stack, you're almost never going to get a balanced output. And even a lot of $200 amps will just have one output, a single 6.3 or a single balanced output. So it's very, very odd, but also very impressive that iFi is giving you two outputs at this price point of especially a DAC amp all in one with two outputs, balanced, unbalanced. That's pretty crazy, and I think it's definitely one thing that sets this unit apart. A common step down the audiophile journey is experimenting more with balanced cables and switching up a bunch of different cables and trying to see what you like and doing EQ and a lot of different things that this amp actually gives you a decent amount of versatility for as you continue going forward. Before talking about the sound quality, we'll talk a little bit about the power of this amplifier. And so the balanced output here offers 380 milliwatts at 32 ohms, and then the unbalanced is 280 milliwatts at the same 32 ohms. Now this is pretty low compared to other setups that are around the $200 point. Like if you got a JDS Labs Atom or that kind of stack, then I believe that puts out around 1 watt at 32. And then the Shit Magni Heresy or the Magni 3 Plus puts out, I think, 2.4 watts at 32, which is kind of insane. It's a ton of power. I mean, the power per dollar value in the Magnis is crazy, but this is notably a lot less powerful than the Magni or even the Atom. Of course, these are just numbers which, while very real, don't always impact sound quality as much as people think they will or are worried about. For example, most of the headphones I use with this DAC amp, I found were driven with plenty of power and they all sounded great. When I switched to either the Heresy or my Asgard, there was very little difference, and I don't think most people are going to be needing more power than what this actually provides, especially when you're just starting out into the hobby and you're just trying a few different headphones. I think this has plenty of power to drive most headphones you would want to buy very well. I ran into no limitations except with the one exception being my Beyerdynamic 880s, which are 600 ohm version, and that's kind of an absurd headphone. So if you're willing to avoid that and other very inefficient headphones, then you won't really run into any issue. With the Beyerdynamic, the 880s, I did feel like it was a little hollow while listening to it, especially the bass and the low end just felt like it was lacking. It just didn't have the presence that it did on my Asgard or my Heresy. However, when I did click on the True Bass button on this amp, it did really supplement the bass and the low end very well, and it kind of brought back a lot of the power that was missing from this unit initially, and then more closely replicated the Asgard. Not as well, but it was a nice little boost. The sound of the Zen Dac is very clean, and it did sound very similar to my Atom, which I tested against before getting rid of it, and also the Magni Heresy, which I also tested this directly against for quite a while. The sound on most headphones was very similar, hard to tell the difference, and overall, this is a very clean amplifier. Just like the Magni is, where they're trying to stay very true to the music, not too warm. This is not a warm amplifier, it sticks true to the music, and that's what I like on an amplifier. And the only time you're really going to find that the sound might be lacking or lacking presence with that will be in very inefficient situations, in my opinion. Or inefficient headphones by high impedance like the Beyerdynamic 880s. If you stick to what will be the majority of headphones, which are easier to drive, then you really should run into no issues. And for many people, the ability to just have one unit, not a stack, less cables, driven right from your computer, no power brick, is well worth the trade-off of not being able to use some inefficient headphones. And for a lot of people just starting out, I think it's a great option for that reason. As mentioned briefly earlier, this unit comes with a True Bass button on the front of the unit, and this button over here actually is really just like a fun button. You throw that on, and if you're listening to a bassy genre, it really brings up the bass a notch, but not in a way that muddies the sound. And I gotta say, I was really surprised by actually how well it works and how much it impacted the sound in a positive way. I had pretty low expectations of any built-in bass boosters, and I thought it would just muddy the sound and just kind of thump along and drain out everything else, but it didn't do that at all. It actually did exactly what you'd want it to do. And so I used it over multiple headphones, different genres, and basically I had it on almost all the time. It even seemed to add a lot of presence to the Beyerdynamic 880 600s, which were severely lacking. To sum things up, I think this is a great option for a large number of people who are looking for a budget amp DAC combo just to get started with, or no matter what you're really looking for, if you're considering a stack, I think this is a great alternative. It keeps your desk clean, it has less cable that can be driven with just a single cable, and I think it's a great unit for beginners. I have a shit stack with a Magni and the Modi, and I love it. I'm someone who does like the extra cushion of power, knowing that I can plug whatever I want into my Heresy, and 99% of the time be just fine. You can't say it's the same for this. So there's some people, maybe more like me, who would think about leaning there for a little more future-proofing, even though I do know I am also the kind of person who would just keep upgrading and buying new amps and DACs, so kind of makes the one I buy initially useless, so maybe this would be a better alternative even for me. But I think this is a great unit. I think the build quality is strong. The only thing I really didn't like, which can be fixed pretty easily, is just the cable they supply with it. It's just way too short. And you could just buy a longer cable on Amazon, and then it's fine. Of course, then you're paying a little more, but I think this is a great unit. I highly recommend it. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this review. Please subscribe if you want to see similar videos like this. If you're interested in this kind of content, I'll be putting out more content on amplifiers, headphones, probably a lot of wireless earbuds as well. And yeah, like, subscribe, comment. Let me know if you have any questions, and have a nice day.